Okay, here's part two of the news roundup. Question was asked on Twitter, or X now, why has there never been a coup in the history of the USA? Because there is no USA embassy there. Really like that one. There was a large explosion in Dagestan. 100 people are injured, 26 dead. The authorities are looking into why this has happened, and God bless the victims. Whilst monitoring airspace over the Barents Sea, a Russian airspace control detected a target. A MiG-29 fighter was deployed. It was an R-8A Poseidon base aircraft of the Norwegian Air Force. When the Russian fighter jet approached, they did a U-turn. It's just good to continually point out that this Russians invading airspace nonsense is very much double-sided. This is something that they have always done. I know that it happens over UK airspace a lot, and as we can see, the Russians staking their claim over the Black Sea. This has kind of increased somewhat. Biden gave a smile and refused to give a comment on the death toll in Maui. I did post this video in full earlier. Just the worst president I think I can think of. Horrendous man. I mean, how difficult is it to say? I'm sorry for the families. There will be support. It's just dreadful. Another video I've posted in full, but this is talking about the US using economic warfare essentially to attack China. And they're saying that it's about national security, but actually it is to prevent the development of the Chinese economy as much as they can so that America can stay on top. I feel this is incredibly short-sighted. I don't think it will be successful in the long run. And I'm not sure why the world is so keen to support America in its crusade to be the best. Can we not just all forget that and get along? Maybe. Ukraine is following the Biden playbook. I'll also post this video, which is just to prolong this conflict as long as they possibly can. I also feel they're in a position to just make all kinds of demands from US leaders and not complain about them if they don't get them immediately. In a way, I think Ukraine, there was 5 billion is what the coup cost initially in 2014. The Ukraine has been put in this position by America, so in a way, I can understand why they are wanting financial assistance to not dry up, because they are completely out on their own for a war that was created by America. But at the same time, it's not a good look when people are struggling to heat their homes and eat. When families around the West are significantly dropped in living standards, to see this is very difficult. Former British Home Secretary has attacked plans to house asylum seekers at a disused RAF airbase. Priti Patel, that arbiter of logic and peace, wrote to the current Home Secretary, Suella Braverman. Have we ever seen these two together in the same room? I just picture two identical people writing letters to each other. And Junior Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick to protest plans to turn the Wethersfield airfield site into a migrant camp for up to 1,700 asylum claimants over the next 5 years. It would have been good if you'd done something about this in your time, Priti Patel, but unfortunately you did not. I am actually going to do a longer video about British politics, and there will be an increase of these because we've got an election coming up next year, and it's valid. Former British Home Secretary, sorry, that's just the end of that message. Conservative MP said the minister had never made the period of use clear during previous consultations with local residents or even in response to 3 parliamentary questions she asked on the matter, because they don't care. There is no consideration in the parliament for what the people want because they're not scared of us. In a way, we need to look at Niger and say, right, if you want a parliament that's going to work for you, they have to be a bit afraid of you. These people are not. US believes military intervention in Niger is a last resort option. Military intervention by the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, to address the military takeover in Niger ought to be an option of last resort, US State Department principal deputy spokesman said. I mean, I think that basically what this means is that they will continue to flood jihadist groups, etc., with arms in Niger and hope not to get their own hands dirty as they're doing in the Ukraine. The collateral damage in US-China competition could not be foreseen, making it the biggest issue in the world. And really what this guy is trying to tell us is that this is having massive knock-on effects to economic stability and therefore people's lives in all of Asia. I think that the Americans need to think long and hard whether they can live without Asia as a bloc, because fundamentally that's where this is going to go if it carries on. We have biolabs in Ukraine because we're developing bioweapons. The United States has been setting up biolabs in Ukraine as part of its biological weapons program. Democratic President candidate Robert Kennedy Jr. said. It's worth remembering that bioweapons tend to relate to a race. So, like the vaccines that we find are better for some races and bad for others. Great example of this, a horrendous example actually, is the polio vaccine and what happened when Bill Gates took it into Africa and it caused an awful lot of defects in people and stopped people from being able to walk and other such horrendous things. Although it's proven very, very safe in children, white children. So these biolabs that were in Ukraine will have been being used to create biolabs that would specifically target Slavic people. Yeah. Ghana opposition is against invasion plans. Opposition lawmakers in Ghana have expressed concern over the ECOWAS plans to potentially launch military action in Niger. This is how oppositions should be getting into power, by giving an alternative view to the narrative. Again, I'll talk about this more when I discuss British politics shortly, but really, we need to have proper alternatives to the status quo, which we do not have in the West. We have variations of the same theme, and it leads to a complete boring whitewashing of politics, which I am sick to death of. BRICS urges its bank to step up lending in local currencies. This will be in relation to what's happening in Argentina and actually in Uganda as well, because the World Bank is refusing to support Uganda anymore because they won't create an LGBTQ safe space or something. Anyway, I think that this will accelerate de-dollarization, and it's interesting that these large American players don't seem to realize that that's what they're doing when they push certain ideologies over democracy, which is what it is. Morocco faces record temperatures and a sandstorm. Marrakesh, the temperature rose from 25 degrees to 47 degrees, and one person was killed by a falling tree. It just looks apocalyptic. Stay safe, everyone. Putin has vowed to support Uganda as it is cut out of World Bank and IMF loans over its LGBTQ agenda and or lack of, which is really, really good. It's good that people have alternatives to this. Massive explosion in Tel Aviv, in Palestine. I have to see some reports of what is going on there. That's the end of the news roundup. Thank you for watching. Please consider supporting me. Diplomacy is free. Buy me a coffee or on my Patreon. God bless.